It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Yes, it is the 16th of June, and not just the long weekend, we are celebrating something so much bigger. Now listen, more than half of South Africa's youth are jobless. It's a fact that many of us have to face, and millions feel disconnected from democracy. And many young women are missing school because they can't afford pads. Period poverty is so real. And right now, 46.1% of youth aged between 15 and 34 are unemployed, and 7.9 million young people are not in education, employment, or even training. Now add that to the fact that 60% of youth are unhappy with how democracy works in this country, and it is very clear that something is broken. And that's what we have to get to the bottom of, or at least bring it up a little bit, because it is quite a big topic to get through. But this Youth Day, we're going to ask that question: is this still the country we dreamed of back in '94 when the new democracy was brought in, or do the youth of today need a new story? Now joining us for this two-part Youth Day panel are three passionate change makers shaping South Africa's youth narrative on the ground and in media as well. Now speaking about media, we have our girl Mihle from Good Hope FM, as well as Mika Weingard from School of Hard Knocks, and Tashreeq Fish, a dedicated volunteer with Youth Impact South Africa. Welcome, guys. Thank you for waking up early on this long weekend. It's really good to have you on a vital conversation that needs to be had. So I think I'm going to start with you, Mihle, and just ask, what is the biggest difference perhaps that you've noticed in today's youth? I know it's quite a big question to grasp, but if you think back to the previous generation, what they experienced and what your day-to-day is like, what's the difference that you notice?
Well, I think obviously the first thing that one has to consider are the social realities that were around during that time, especially because it was obviously apartheid era, and I believe that generation was more optimistic and fighting, for freedom and everything like that. And now that we've gotten that freedom, I think with today's generation, they hold a more, instead of like optimistic, but a critical view basically of the country, because of obviously the frustrations that one has with the expectation of freedom and democracy. And now people are still curious about the quality of education that we have, unemployment and situations like that. So it's a very critical view that we have compared to the older generation.
Yeah, and I think maybe even from the older generation, people might look at the youth of today and say, like, what are you guys fighting for? Back then there was a cause that everybody was united to bring down, and now it's kind of like, where are we going, what are we doing? But I almost feel like the youth is creating their own anti-culture and their own culture when it comes to fighting through different means, like memes maybe, and using the internet to their advantage. So have you seen anything like that you feel like this is worthy of being spoken about?
Yes, I think first of all, our generation disrupts the whole way in which knowledge is consumed, for example, because speaking of those memes, people use social media in order to bring an awareness to matters, so you don't have to wait for 7 o'clock to go watch news and stuff like that. It's more fun and engaging, and you can just get it anyway. Like, you literally have the world in your pocket. And I think that is something that is really great, and that our youth is currently doing.
Thank you for being part of that. I personally am there on the brink of both generations, and I'm like, I love it. TikTok updates me on everything that I need to know, but we got to fact check, okay? Just know that. All right, Mika, let's come to you. Let's talk a little bit more about you working with young people and the hardship that they may face. What exactly is happening now in the landscape of struggle?
Well, we're finding out that our participants are overwhelmed. A lot of our participants are struggling with a lot of challenges on a day-to-day basis, and it's showing up in school as well. They've got to travel, they've got to take care of family members, and a lot of those are challenges in themselves, walking down dark streets, lonely streets, just to catch a taxi or a bus, to travel up to an hour to school.
Absolutely.
And then there's the pressures of school itself. I mean, to be seen as your academic achievements and to be seen as only what you can achieve is quite a sad thing for a lot of our participants. And it's manifesting in really, really negative ways. We're seeing suicide attempts, suicide ideations, self-harm. It's on the rise.
That's scary to think about.
is, yes.
Not a new reality, but definitely something that's more pervasive, I feel, especially with social media added to that, because now it feels like there's added pressure onto what they're actually facing every single day. But hopefully there's some solution. There's some sort of way, like recreation or there's sports maybe that they can get involved in. What are you seeing on the front of something that can fight against that?
Well, sport is a great option. Sport is an outlet for a lot of people, and it allows us just to let go of all of our worries, let go of all of our problems, and do something that's enjoyable. It also allows us to collaborate with others. I think it's important that we engage with other people, work together towards a goal so that we can achieve. And it also allows us to practice the life skills that we've learned. At School of Hard Knocks, a lot of our physical activities relate back to our session topics, and it gives them a chance to actually implement what we've taught them in a practical manner.
That's beautiful. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels that, but are people more lonelier than ever right now? Are the youth kind of feeling isolated? What's happening there on the ground?
Mainly because, yes, social media is good. However, because of social media, a lot of youth isolate themselves now because they'd rather spend time on their phone than actually socialize, which is not all good.
Because we are social beings, right? And connecting with people like this, looking in each other's eyes, touching each other is what really has us connected as a population. Okay, but I do think that there's a way to go here. Tashreeq, let's get into this a little bit more. When it comes to working on the ground and the challenges you may face, what are some of the biggest struggles? I know you touched on some of them, Mika. Are there any others that you can highlight that are barriers to progress?
To be honest, there are so many struggles. I'm sure we all can agree on that. However, the main struggles that stands out for me the most would be the lack of economic opportunities in South Africa. And also, I mean, the unemployment rate is sky high. Because, I mean, a lot of these youth are trying to do everything right when it comes to their education. However, they still struggle to build meaningful careers. And secondly, it would mainly be the gang violence within the Cape Flats because I mean, we live in environments where gunshots is a norm, violence is a norm, and crime is a norm. And most times for young people, it seems like the only option they have is to join a gang, simply for some sort of feeling of belonging, and also mainly survival, to put it that way.
Wow. Oh my God, that's so scary. But it's a reality that we have to talk about. And I feel like the more we talk about it and bring it to light, the more people feel like, okay, are there other options outside of this one thing that I'm facing as well? What do you think people need most?
Okay,
especially when it comes to the youth.
So through our research we have done within our youth programs, I mean, the questions that you're asking, it remains anonymous. However, the main question that stands out specifically is that all these youth are asking for jobs. And you can't blame them because, I mean, they are being pressured to literally only get their matric and to find a job immediately, simply so that they can provide for their families.
And it's so crazy because I don't know if you guys relate to this, but as soon as you step into the working world, they say you need 5 years experience, you need to have done... I just graduated.
And
where was I supposed to get this?
It's sad also because, I mean, how are you going to get the experience if they're not going to give you the experience?
Exactly.
And I mean, you just graduated from high school.
And even if you go for an internship, for example, is it going to pay you enough or at all in order for you to, you know, make sure your household's okay, transport is okay, and that you can actually survive day to day? Okay, so let me ask the question about how you managed to get to where you are today. I mean, Mitle, you are in a great position of being somebody in media. I know many people look at you going, oh my gosh, girl, get me in. How do I do that? How do I get there? Congrats for taking that step. But what is your story?
I think one thing that has always motivated me was always just being part of something. So it's like there's a big picture, but don't be afraid to start small. And for me, that was campus radio, and even just outside of radio, involving myself in multiple things that align with what I want to do, so that when you get to that point where it's like, okay, employment, and it's like we want experience and stuff like that, you're like, oh, well, I've done something sort of similar. So not being afraid to volunteer, as much as, yes, we're speaking about the economic frustrations that do exist, those are the building blocks, volunteering and doing stuff like that, those are the building blocks to make sure that you are able to build and make a name for yourself in today's economy.
Yeah, and I think the power of social media also is very helpful. I mean, my position was a little bit privileged. I didn't have a job for the longest time, but traveled to campus radio to gain that experience. But my parents held me down at that time. So I know not many people have have that opportunity. But social media has really, I feel, broken that barrier for many people. Whether it's just getting an income, collabing with certain brands, getting that couple thousand here and there, it does make that difference. So I'm glad that we at least have that. How about you? How did you get your step into where you are right now?
I was very fortunate. My goal was always to want to help people, and I thought at first that it was about helping them achieve their physical goals. I was studying to be a personal and fitness trainer. And then I got the opportunity to work at School of Hard Knocks, and after looking at what they do and seeing how they help people, I took that step and I sent through my application, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And it's been 3 years now that I've helped as many participants as I can, and I'm in the position now to help my colleagues as well.
All right, we've heard from Mika Michle. How about you, Tashreeq?
So I was fortunate to join again with volunteering. I actually joined the singing program at one of our facilities. However, one of the girls then came over to invite me to start doing ballroom and Latin.
Sure.
And ever since then, I've been involved with every single activity and program there was. And I mean, now I'm literally one of the youth leaders when it comes to all the programs. And because of the program, I can do ballroom and Latin. I do competitions. I coach hip hop, literally 150 kids.
Wow.
And like where sports is concerned, we do a lot of that. So I'm glad I'm a part of the movement that we have, because it's definitely getting a lot of attention, and a lot of youth are joining also simply because through Facebook, TikTok, and all the social media platforms, they see what we do and then they immediately want to join because they love what we're doing because it's so positive.
Listen, representation matters across the board. You can't be who you can't see, and that opportunity is the only thing that really stops you from taking that next step. So thank you for the work you're doing. But they're not going anywhere. We have part 2 of this conversation coming up, and we would love it if you weighed in, Mzansi, as well. Let us know via voice note or even on our socials exactly what you think the democracy of 2025 is all about and whether or not it serves you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Let's get into part 2 of this very needed conversation, because despite the odds, young South Africans are building new dreams through things like creative expression and sports therapy, feeding schemes, and also dignity-driven campaigns. This generation is often called lost, some even say soft, but listen, they always show up and definitely back their own, and that is what I'm here for and what we have our panel here for as well. We still have Mika as well as Michle and Tashreeq with us, so let's get into this conversation and push it a bit further. A woman in media. Yes, that's what you represent. When it comes to the hunger of the youth and maybe even stories that they'd like to hear that maybe we aren't even doing as broadcasters, what do you think is happening on the ground? What would they really love to see more of?
I think young people would like to see more of like practical solutions when you think of social media, because most of the time you just maybe listening to radio, watching TV, and it's always problem with, you know, statistics of high employment and all those frustrations. And I think we really want to be like, okay, if say a person makes a speech of, okay, there's now 70% chances of employment, it's like, okay, but how?
Yeah, and
where?
then what?
And then what, you know, sustainability and matters like that. So I think more answers than you are just giving us the realities, because everyone knows what's going on. But it's like, okay, so now what's the way forward?
And do you feel like as a woman on radio, you feel the responsibility to provide that?
Yes.
And do you do that?
I do feel the responsibility to do that, especially because how I think of radio is you're being the voice for the other people, you know. And so for me, I always have, even in my show, for example, I have a segment called Over to You. And that's where you basically get into the mind of the listener of, okay, so what do you think about this matter, you know, and getting to give them opportunities to be able to speak from their perspectives and hear their real life stories.
Absolutely. Thank you for your work. That is incredible. And we hope to see more of that as well across every single show. Yes. But when it comes to young people, Mika, say you've gone through the most as a young person from the flats, from the hood, and you're still kind of expected to show up every single day and make that difference. Have you noticed that they do rise above their circumstances? What happens in cases like that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that someone who's gone through a lot, someone with lived experience, they are leaders in their own right. They, like you say, they show up. They understand the world in a different way, and they lead in their ability to connect and relate to those around them. They show that they are more than their experiences, and that can't stop them from growing and achieving in life. And they lead by example as well. They show that they're not victims, but rather survivors. and that they can continue to achieve and grow in life. And they set that bar for others and that standard, and they become role models in their communities and in their environments as well.
And do you think they lead by example, or it's more a case of, like Tashriq, for example, stepping in as a volunteer? Or is it a bit of both?
I think that stepping in as a volunteer is also leading by example. I mean, if we were to simplify it, I think it's being a game changer. Changing the situation of your environment, of your community, and showing them the different ways that are better than what has been dictated for you by your environment or your community.
Now, Tashriq, I'm going to come to you and just ask you maybe the result of something like this. If you do then feel supported, if you do then rise above your circumstances, if you do then take that step further to make a difference and be a game changer in your own life, what actually happens to yourself and also maybe the community around you?
Okay, so when a young person feels supported, everything changes. Because then we start believing in ourselves, we stop surviving and actually start dreaming.
Sure.
Because you'll see the moment a young person feels seen, they feel heard and they feel valued, it unlocks a potential inside of them that has always been there, but just needed the right environment to grow. So that's basically it, where a young person, and I mean, the moment you feel supported, it changes a lot, man. Generally. It just changes you in massive ways.
I have to ask you guys, do you remember, maybe if it's a person or a moment in your life where you felt like somebody is supporting you, someone's backing you, someone is rooting or championing for you, therefore you can take that step and dream a little bit bigger?
I do,
You
and
do?
I have them on a regular basis,
Yeah.
literally every day
Sure.
in my life. My boss is actually in studio.
Oh, shout out your boss.
But,
Give us a wave. Hello, boss.
So he's like, they push us a lot. Most times they motivate us, but there's times also where they're like, okay, you need to start focusing. you need to focus. You need to now do what you need to do, and you need to now stop being distracted and this, that, and that. Which is sometimes the hard conversations.
It is,
But
yeah.
if you don't have that, then you become lackadaisy also, and that's not what they want for us, because
Would
they're
you-
pushing us.
Would you encourage him to be a boss of other people too?
No,
Does he need to step out there and mentor more folks?
And sorry,
love that.
it's all about mentoring as well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, supporting someone doesn't necessarily have to involve money. Sometimes support can simply just be mentorship. It can be a platform. It can be a safe space, or someone simply just saying, "Listen, I see you.
Yeah.
I believe in you, and I've got your back." Because I mean, you'll come to learn that a lot of young people, again, when they feel supported, it unlocks potential in them, and that's the
I would
ultimate
agree.
goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think we're all sitting with so much potential. You just need somebody to say, I see you, I hear you, keep pushing. Well, now that your boss is here, I gotta ask you, do you have a message for him? Do you want to, tell him thank you, or how he's changed your life? I don't want to put words in your mouth, Tashriq. You go for it.
With my boss, a lot of times we don't tell him this, but because of him, we've accomplished a lot. And I mean, I told him earlier, and you know what? I've come to learn that over time, when I used to watch Hectic 99 back in the day, one of my dreams was always, I want to be on TV. I want to be on the radio. And because of him always pushing me, because he sees the talent I have to speak. And then he told me, okay, that's what you want. You've been telling me you want it, so now let's work on it. And I mean, look to them.
National TV, come on.
So my message to him is, Shodi, keep pushing. There's a lot more youth coming, you know that for a fact, and just don't give up on us.
Tashriq, I'm emotional too. Stop it. The tears are here, bro. You are here on a national platform, and look at that. It's just the beginning of so many more things to come. You should always see it as that stepping stone. So I'm so excited for the rest of your journey as well. Oh my goodness, what a feel-good morning. This is what it's all about, man. Mihle, I gotta ask you, talking a little bit about the kind of message that you put out there every time you switch the mic on, right? Do you feel also the need to be positive in what you're saying, or is it more like this is the reality of South Africa, or is it more aspirational type of content?
I think it's being more positive, because like positivity is what the world needs now, you know. So I do feel the pressure of being like, the moment I step on the mic, I'm like, good morning, and just stepping up and making the other person, feel seen or have a good day, because sometimes just energy transfers, just feeling the vibe of the other person, you feed off of it, and it makes you feel good, so
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely being positive, putting positivity out there, while also recognizing, other realities that are not so positive, but being like, okay, this happened, but it's not the end. How do we move forward? And yeah.
Beautiful. Sometimes I think that joy is a form of resistance
Yes.
because, you know, you kind of bummed down by circumstances and expected to be sad and be miserable. But when you choose happiness, it's going, no, actually.
Energy feeds also, yes.
Exactly. And everyone feeds off one another. You know, you're inspiring the next person just by smiling. And you're one of the first voices we hear on the weekend. So it's like, yes, give me that. Give me some of that. Okay, I'm going to bring this one to you, Mika. What does long-term youth empowerment look like in your side of town?
I think it is in the organizations that exist. I think if those organizations can be supported in terms of funding, facilities, external assistance as well, if those organizations can be helped to continue in their lifestyle, in their lifetime, then they can continue to help the youth as well. There's so many good things and good organizations that exist locally. And if there could just be some of that assistance, it would be great. I mean, 80% of our funding is international.
Sure.
And it's kind of sad to see that other governments see the positive in what we do and not really our own. So I think if our government could support us, then we'd have a massive positive change in both the reach and effect of our organizations. And I think that would be the best thing for us.
Well, there you have it on a national platform. I know somebody is listening that will definitely reach out to any three and make sure the organizations stay alive and well. If you want those details, it is available at Expresso Show. You can find us across socials and you'll find three of these game changers and change makers there just for you to reach out and make sure that the youth of tomorrow is more than okay.